Hello, welcome to week 3, in which we will be discussing Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. This podcast will give some of the basics of Aristotle, the philosopher. Aristotle lived in Athens from 384 to 322 BCE. Unlike Socrates and Plato, he was not born in Athens, but Stagera. He moved to Athens in order to study under Plato in the academy. Many of Aristotle's views, while taking their roots in Plato's philosophy, stand directly opposed to Plato's positions. Aristotle himself began an educational institution called the Lyceum, which was committed to a kind of philosophical investigation that was a bit different from that of Plato. We can see the main difference between Plato's and Aristotle's respective philosophical prospects represented in the painting depicted here called The School of Athens by Raphael. In the center of the School of Athens stand Plato and Aristotle, Plato on the left, Aristotle on the right, as the co-ancestors of Western philosophy. Plato, with his hand raised high, is prescribing our contemplating the forms, those perfect and universal templates, to which everything in the physical world surrounding us aspires, but inevitably fails to reach. Look away from the physical objects, says Plato, and look to the abstract realm where the forms reside. This is where you will find ultimate reality and the truth. Now notice Aristotle's pose on the right. His hand is placed lower, as though to direct our eyes to the ground before us, to the things surrounding us. He is prescribing a kind of investigation counter to what Plato is prescribing. Aristotle is telling us to observe the physical world, to keep our theories rooted to what we observe in the world around us. It's not that Aristotle doesn't think that there is an abstract realm that can be reflected on to great benefit. He thinks there is a world distinct from the physical world, but that to focus all of your attention on the world of forms is like boxing with your own shadow. You have to also make observations of the physical world. The difference in these two approaches can be seen in the distinction between what's called a priori and a posteriori reasoning. I will provide a separate podcast to show what this distinction is. Briefly, is the difference between reasoning completely from principles, which is with no reference to any experience, which is a priori, and reasoning from information that we have learned from experience, which is a posteriori. Plato advocates a priori reasoning exclusively, while Aristotle thinks both kinds of reasoning are valuable. A last note about Aristotle's reputation. He is well known as being Plato's star pupil, but he is also known for a star pupil of his own, Alexander the Great. Aristotle served as Alexander's tutor, and since Aristotle's work relied so heavily on observations about the physical world, Alexander brought many specimens back from his conquests to Aristotle. Thus, much of what we read in Aristotle is due, in part, to the successful campaigns of Alexander the Great.